Greetings everyone, Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the latest video, which this one is a slightly different thing. So I'm done doing Project Ramen videos on my channel, even though there is still a Project Ramen map in the background, because it's a cool ass map. And I'm actually getting ready to get this printed and put up behind me, and I probably won't be using the screen anymore at that point. But in the meantime, what I really wanted to talk about is this. So I am a physical book lover. Back in the day, and I've talked about this on my show in the past, when I was younger, I collected books. By the time I was in my mid 20s, I already had 1,000 books in my collection. By the time I left to travel full time in 2008, end of 2007, I had over 1,200 books in my personal library. And when I left to travel and moved abroad, that was not possible to take with me, nor was it possible to stick into storage because that many books it was impossible. So I ended up having to sell a bulk of my collection. Kept some of the ones that were the most difficult to find, like my John Carter of Mars set with the Michael Whelan covers in immaculate condition, my Roger Zelazny set, my first edition hardback Wheel of Times, things of that nature I kept. And they're in storage at my sister's place, and I'm going to be getting those sometime in the near future. But for a long time, because I was traveling, I didn't ever want to pick up physical books because of the fact that they take up space, and it's just not feasible when you're traveling. So I got used to just getting the occasional book and putting it on the tablet. And we had a tablet for a long time, and the tablet finally died late last year, early this year. I forget exactly when. And I've been on the fence about this little thing right here for a long time, because I always said that if I was going to get back into reading regularly like I used to, because I used to read, you know, 10 books a month more or less, um, but I haven't read like that in years. I mean, it's been a long time since I got into game development, especially. Video games have become my major pastime, and then with the introduction of Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, all these streaming services, there is some amazing productions being put out there in science fiction and fantasy. So reading kind of fell by the wayside. But I have been inspired recently by Liam, aka Hemvar from Liam's Lyceum, um, because he's been doing all these reading challenges and everything else. And I don't have the time to read as much as he does. Um, but it did get me, back into reading again on a regular basis, which hasn't happened. I haven't done that for a very long time. So what I want to talk about today, I'm rambling. I'm 3 minutes in, having talked about this. I got a Kindle Paperwhite, which is an amazing little thing. I've been on the fence about a Kindle for a long time because I always had the tablet, and then the tablet died, and then I was just like, I'll just wait. But my brother was like, you should try the Kindle Paperwhite. It's really good on your eyes and everything else. I did get the small version, which is just 8 gigs, which can still hold, you know, 1,000 plus books. So I'm not really worried about space, especially in the day and age we live in, I should say, because I've got external hard drives out the wazoo, and I can always just put extras there. Um, so I got this recently, and the first book series I put on this was the Mistborn Trilogy, the first Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, because I've not read it yet, and I have been extremely enthralled by that. I'm on, as we can see, I don't know if we can actually see. It's not gonna let me see it. I'm on chapter 21. I just finished. I think this is like getting into the third part here. Um, I love this thing. Like I wasn't sure I was gonna like it. Um, that was always my hesitation. Was like I love reading physical books. I never enjoyed reading on the tablet that much or the phone, especially the phone, because I mean the difference between these two sizes is quite a bit. But I would always read horizontally so that I'm actually getting, the book width, if that makes sense. If you look at the width of these things. But it was never the same because you're only getting a few inches of space. The thing I love about this is it's actually giving you about the same amount of space that you would get from reading a traditional like trade paperback book. Um, and the reason I wanted the Paperwhite more than just a normal one was because, as my brother had told me, um, you get that softer color, which is easier on your eyes. And I sit here in front of the computer enough and have dry eyes and everything else. Um, So I wanted something that was as easy as possible on the eyes. So I have had this for a couple of weeks now, and I'm reading very slowly. I don't read as much as I used to because I do have a lot of things that I do these days, comparatively speaking. But I am chewing my way through this first Mistborn novel, and I have to say, I have I'm not even through with the first book, and I have fallen in love with the Kindle. I love the fact it's lightweight, and Chris had to talk me down. I don't know if she'll laugh at this or not. I almost bought like a $60 leather cover for the damn thing when I first bought it. It's just like, you just got it. Just buy a cheap, you know, $10 cover and start there, and then worry about the $50 leather one. I was like, come on, I just got a really good deal on this Kindle because when I got this, the reason I got it finally was because it was dramatically discounted. So I got like $60 off. So it was a good deal on Amazon when I bought it. Um, I feel entirely justified in having spent the money, and I'm loving this thing. So I've gotten to the end of this video now to say this. I'm looking for book recommendations. I know what I like to read, and I have a lot of books that I haven't read in a long time that I'm planning on getting for here. I already have the Dragonlance Chronicles. I've got the Chronicles of Amber by Roger Zelazny that I'm going to reread, and I'm going to be getting the Thrawn Trilogy, the first Thrawn Trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Those are some of the books that I'm putting on. Oh, and also the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series and the Otherland series by Tad Williams. Also, the Rift Force Saga by Freeman Feist. So I'm getting all of my classics that I love and haven't read in a very long time on here. But I would love to hear from people. Obviously, I'm sneak peeking into Liam's Lyceum and taking notes from what he's reading, and some of those books I'll be looking for. But what I'm really interested in are um, any sort of good science fiction. I'm not a huge hard science fiction guy. I just like stories set in space. I think those are fun stories. I'm really interested in reading because I've never read it and I love the show. But The Expanse, that show, everyone said the books are amazing. I'm planning on getting those to read through those this year. So any sort of science fiction, any good fantasy, classic or otherwise. I'm not interested in here's a caveat to this. What I'm not interested in is book series that are ongoing. I don't have patience anymore to read books that take authors 6, 7 years to finish, which is why I gave up on book 4 of Wheel of Time, or not Wheel of Time, sorry, Game of Thrones. I read all of Wheel of Time. Book 4 of Game of Thrones, I think, or book 5. One of those I gave up on because it was taking him like 7, 8 years between, and now it's taken him even longer to get to the next one. I have no patience for that. Also, like Rothfuss, I've never read, even though everyone says Patrick Rothfuss is a brilliant writer and the first 2 books in his series are just amazing. It's been like 10 years and he hasn't finished the second book. His editor has complained about it publicly on Facebook. I have no desire to read series that aren't already finished at the moment. Just as an adult, I have a lot less patience for that than I did as a kid. As a kid, I would pre-order books. Like I can remember Wheel of Time as an example. I would wait. Also, I remember this is going to be a obscure reference, but there's a writer. Now I can't remember his name. The name of the series is the Endless Knot series. And why can I'm going to go look this up right now because I can remember pre-ordering those books. Stephen something, I think. Stephen Lawhead, yeah. Stephen R. Lawhead. So the Endless Knot series was amazing. I'm gonna plan. I haven't read those since they first launched, but I remember pre-ordering those back in the day. Which reminds me, Stephen R. Lawhead, like he has some really cool. He does like historical fiction. So he's done a lot of stuff with like Celtic lore. With like Endless Knot is a Celtic series. Then he has the Arthurian Legend series with um, Merlin Arthur, the Pendragon series, I think is what it's called. Amazing. Then he had the Byzantium series. He's done a Robin Hood series. He does some really fun stuff with historical fiction, and I definitely want to get that on here as well. Anyway, back in the day, I used to pre-order things, a year in advance and wait, but authors back then used to actually complete their books every year or two. And now you've got guys that are taking 8, 9, 10 years between books. Ain't nobody got time for that. So if you have book recommendations, I would love to hear them so that I can get my Kindle filled up and get my library reestablished once again. And yeah, any good science fiction, fantasy, anything that's been completed. I'm not, like I said, I don't really care about anything that's currently in the middle of being worked on. unless it's already got like 6 or 7 books behind it that I can catch up on, and the eighth one is coming out pretty soon. As an example, I think the Expanse novels, I think the last one is coming out, and then they're going to be done with it. As opposed to Game of Thrones, where Martin still has 2 books to go, and it's been like 9 years or something since the last book, and he still has another one to write after this. I have serious doubts that he's going to live long enough to complete it. Um, anyway, thanks to all the people who have been giving me book recommendations in the past week. My brother gave me some stuff, and I know Liam over at Liam Lyceum has kept me inspired. So thanks so very much. Um, and I will keep everybody updated. I'm probably going to start to do some updates on my YouTube channel, some book reviews and stuff. I'm not going to be doing them that frequently. I mean, in a perfect world, I would love to read a book a week. I don't know that I have the time to read a book a week. I am trying to read every single night, but like Wednesday night I couldn't because we had tabletop. Last night was Thursday night, right? So last night I was catching up on a Marvel show. So I watched a couple episodes last night on my way to bed, and that was an hour and a half of my time. And I usually give myself an hour and a half, 2 hours when I go to bed every night. And before I got this, and after the tablet died, before I got this, I was just watching a couple episodes of a show every night or a Netflix movie or something. And now I'm trying to alternate. So given the fact that I'm only putting in an hour and a half, 2 hours a day to reading, um, I don't think I'll do a book a week, but I might be able to do a book a month. Maybe a book every 2 weeks if they're shorter books. Mistborn is huge, though. I mean, these are like 200,000 words novels, so it's taken me a bit. Um, but I also know that like Chris is going to be gone in October for a few weeks to go visit her family, and I'm planning on sinking my teeth in and just doing some binge reading in October. I really want to read the Thrawn series again, the original Thrawn trilogy that Timothy Zahn wrote in the early 90s, mid 90s, that kicked off the Star Wars expanded universe, which was Heir to the Empire, Dark Forces, Dark something Rising, and then Last Command, I think was the last book. It's such a good trilogy, and I haven't read that in years. Um, anyway, I'm rambling now. It's 12 minutes in. That's my. It's not really a review of the Kindle. It's just me telling everybody they got a Kindle and looking for book recommendations. So thanks everybody. Let me know what you got, and I'm gonna get back to doing some work here. I'm working on tabletop stuff today. I'm taking all the notes and everything from the past few weeks, and I'm working on the first campaign module. And then I'm planning on working on some of Chapter 6 this weekend for Project Drummond, Book 1. So stay tuned for that. Till next time, thanks everybody. See ya!